What if financial crises are not failures of the system? What if they are the system working exactly as designed? Every collapse feels unexpected to the public, but to central banks, collapse often arrives with preparation. We are told crises require emergency solutions. We are told these solutions are temporary. Yet those temporary powers never fully disappear. Instead, they quietly become permanent tools. Each crisis leaves ordinary people poorer and central banks more powerful than before. Central banks were not created to dominate economies. They were created to solve instability. Early financial systems were chaotic and fragile. Banks failed frequently. Credit vanished during wars and recessions. Governments needed reliable borrowing. Central banks emerged as stabilizers. Their powers were narrow and specific. They were bound by physical money. Limits defined their authority. Money was once tied to gold and silver. Printing too much caused immediate consequences. Reserves mattered. Failure was visible. Panic punished recklessness quickly. Central banks acted cautiously. Power could not expand endlessly. The system enforced restraint. Accountability existed by necessity. But limits became inconvenient. Banking panics threatened political stability. Governments feared public outrage. Crises demanded immediate action. Central banks were granted emergency powers. Liquidity injections calmed markets. Interest rates were lowered rapidly. Institutions were saved from collapse. These actions were labeled temporary. The public accepted them out of fear. Precedent was quietly created. Once a power exists, it can be reused. Each crisis expanded the toolkit. Emergency became expectation. Central banks gained confidence. Markets learned to wait for rescue. Risk behavior slowly changed. Failure no longer meant destruction. It meant intervention. This altered incentives permanently. Responsibility began to dissolve. The biggest shift came when money lost its anchor. Gold backing constrained expansion. Governments found it restrictive. Growth demanded flexibility. Wars demanded funding. Social programs demanded stability. Fiat money replaced physical limits. Trust replaced verification. Central banks gained elasticity. Power expanded invisibly. Central banks no longer just reacted. They managed expectations. Markets watched central banks obsessively. Interest rates became signals. Money supply became policy. Stability became an illusion of control. Every downturn demanded intervention. Every recovery depended on support. Markets adjusted behavior accordingly. Crises became opportunities. The 2008 crisis exposed the system. Debt overwhelmed income. Risk was hidden behind complexity. Institutions collapsed simultaneously. Fear spread globally. Central banks responded aggressively. Trillions were created digitally. Toxic assets were absorbed. Failure was prevented. Power surged permanently. Quantitative easing was introduced. Interest rates approached zero. Markets became addicted. Asset prices inflated. Debt exploded. Inequality widened silently. Emergency tools stayed active. Balance sheets never shrank fully. Intervention became normal. Crises became profitable. Central banks inject money through financial systems. Assets rise before wages. Owners benefit first. Savers lose purchasing power. Losses are socialized. Takeaway 1. Crises expand power faster than peace. Takeaway 2. Emergency tools rarely disappear. Takeaway 3. Instability becomes profitable when risk is protected. Subscribe to understand money before the next crisis makes control permanent.